Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Living Astrology with Janet Hickox. Grab your cup of coffee or your tea, sit back, and let's chat about what is happening in the stars above for today, Friday, October 30th. Wow, the last day before Halloween. I hope you have your Halloween costumes at the ready and are prepared to have some scary good times. We are talking today mostly about the full moon that occurs tomorrow and bridges over into November 1st for those of you in Australia and that part of the world. So let's dig in, shall we? I hope everybody's having a good day so far. I woke up in a really good mood. Thankfully, the moon in Aries is still activating some very positive energies and also some very powerful action energy. But today, the moon is going to be in a square to Saturn. So things may feel like they're a little slower or more sluggish, like perhaps it's harder for you to get things done. But don't worry about that. Just go with the flow. If it says slow down, then slow down, right? Don't push yourself into doing things that you don't need to do. So we have the square to Saturn and an opposition today from the moon to Mercury in retrograde in Libra. So today is literally a day of some inner work perhaps that we need to do in order to prepare for the full moon tomorrow. So what I see for most of us today is that this will translate into some impatience, especially if there are obstacles that appear in our path. Usually when that happens, we want to tear our hair out. We want to just bully our way through it or push our way through it. This isn't going to be something that works for us today. In fact, it hasn't been working for us. So if you're still trying to push the river, if you're still trying to bowl your way through something and it's not working, it isn't going to work. Right? So you take the cue from the universe and what it's showing you, which is all about going with the flow, moving around something instead of going, trying to push through. And sometimes it might mean, woohoo, stop, right? Slow down, stop for a moment, let whatever's in the way pass by. It's like on the roads in the country when, somebody's flock of sheep or flock of cat or flock of sheep, but herd of cattle get on the road and you can't move, right? There's nothing you can do except wait it out and they too shall pass on and then you can get moving again, right? It's our limited human perspective that thinks that we have to keep going. And I can tell you that right now, if you're holding on to that kind of energy, then this is going to be a time of frustration and anger and upset. And you may find yourself knee-jerk reacting to something, doing something just to break the tension that later you might find you regret. So why take the chance, right? Don't take the chance. Slow things down and just be able to sit with the energies the way they are and things will shift. I promise they always do, right? Change is one of the few things that we can count upon in this world. That and death and taxes. So also today, because of the opposition of the moon in Aries to Mercury in Libra, we may have some trouble communicating. And it can be two-way trouble, right? Maybe you mishear what someone else says. And then on the other hand, you have trouble forming what it is that you want to say in response. And so it can be a difficult day for communication. If you find yourself tongue-tied or in some kind of a word funk, maybe just don't speak, right? Maybe just don't answer. Just say, we'll take this up another time, or I'm not thinking clearly right now, because that's the other possibility is that with the moon in an opposition to Mercury, who rules not only communications, but our mind, our mind may be a bit jumbled. Or on the other side of things, because we're talking about this love and war axis, right? Aries, where the moon is, and Libra, where Mercury is. We could start to kind of buy into using our words as swords or verbal battles that can erupt between people, using acerbic tones behind your words instead of actually waiting to, just let that energy pass. If you have to say something, make sure you say it nicely. What was that mom used to say? If you can't say something nice, don't say anything. Don't say anything at all. And that's great advice for us today as we're sitting at the end of the moon's transit through Aries. And, we're still not clear of the square from yesterday to Pluto, and the square today to Saturn is activated. So we're really kind of we're not quite in our right minds, let's say. We really need to be in our hearts, and that's we're going to talk about next. How does the energy today show us that we need to get more into our hearts? But before I go there, let's take a look at the video itself. It looked like it was going to cause me problems this morning, but it looks like it's going well now. Let's say good morning to everybody. Hello, J-Lo and Kimberly Eberhardt. Great to see you, ladies. Mimi, good morning. J-Lo says, yes, I am so ready for it. Good morning, Tom. Happy New Year. Kathleen Mallory, hello to you. And Jennifer Peachy, hello. And Ingrid Guten Morgan. I'm not sure I'm saying that right, but okay. Asa, great to see you out there. Debbie Tibbetts-Tumiel, good morning to you. And Courtney Menard says, good morning. And she says, are there some signs or placements that will have an easier time with this transit? I would say if you are a Taurus or a Scorpio, you're with the transit or with the full moon, because now I lost it. I would say that Aries, Librans, and possibly Capricorns and possibly Cancers may have some difficulty with the energy of what I was just discussing, the moon at these latter degrees of Aries. And that's because, first of all, if you're an Arian, if you're Aries, or wherever Aries is in your chart, if you have planets sitting there, this can put a lot of forceful pressure there. But I also have to say there's also a good side to this energy, because I'm sitting here in a transit from the moon in Aries to my sun in Gemini, and it feels really good. However, that square to Saturn, I can feel it sort of in behind the scenes. They're sort of calling me to be more disciplined, calling me to settle down somewhat, to get focused. And that's the challenge, is how do I use all of this really crazy good energy, but in a more focused, down to earth kind of way? So I'd say those are your 4 signs that will likely be affected the most. But if you're a Gemini or let's see, what would be on the other side would be Pisces, not Pisces. Yeah, Pisces. No, what's the next one? Aquarius. You might have a better time of it because the moon will be in a sextile to the area of your chart. So it all depends, right? It depends on how your chart is set up. It also depends greatly on your own attitude. Because as we talked about yesterday, the only one who's responsible for how you show up is you. And, some people can have a shock thrown at them, and they are in the moment, they feel that shock, they get that this is something that's changing their lives, but then they choose to think in a pattern that opens up their hearts to, well, what comes next? What is this showing me, right? They don't go down that rabbit hole. So Courtney, as much as I'd like to say certain signs will be hit by it, anybody can be hit by any of this. And the fact is today we have this energy and tomorrow's the full moon. So boom, boom, right? So now the signs that I just mentioned, Aries, Cancer, Capricorn, and Libra, give over to Taurus, Scorpio, Aquarius, and Leo. So tomorrow's energy may be, affecting those planets in more profound ways. So in every day, right, in every way, these transits are triggering things and bringing things up, not to pass judgment on you or to have you pass judgment on yourself, but for you to really understand what's evolving within you, right? Because you're an evolving being. As much as you'd like to think I'm not evolving at all, right? I don't feel like I'm, conscious or moving up in my consciousness. We all are. Even the people that we think aren't very conscious at the moment are still at the behest of the evolutionary impulse to raise consciousness. And at various times, people do that in various ways, and people are different, so they do it at various speeds. But we're all under that impulse to change. So really, even when I'm saying, okay, today's a day, watch for impatience, you might have trouble communicating, that's just for your awareness to keep an open mind about. And if it does happen, what should your response be? Right? Well, that depends on you. Where's your heart in all of this? And how do you want to show up in response, not reaction, to where the energy is taking you? And that's the challenge for each of us every day in everything that's thrown at us, from the minor phone call or email that is an irritation to maybe something bigger that's going on, a fight that's going on in your relationships, things like that. It's always up to you to show up. And every transit that occurs, whether it's positive or not so positive, is a call for us to love ourselves and others more and more and more, right? Okay. So we have that. Let's see. Good morning to J-Lo says she's in a peppy mood. This is a good thing. And Courtney says there is so much either. I'm not sure what you mean by that, but okay. Maybe I missed something. I'm going to go back here. Valerie Jocelyn, good morning. It's good to see you. And Tom Wright says it's the Celtic New Year. I think that's tomorrow, actually, Samhain. And that's the 31st. Today's the 30th. But you could still say Happy New Year. We say Merry Christmas before it's actually Christmas. Debbie Tippett's Tumiel, good morning. And Debbie says, give a treat and hit that like button. Oh, Debbie's playing the role today of promoter for me. Thank you so much, Debbie. So please hit the like button. If you're so inclined, hit the subscribe button. If you haven't already, the little bell next to it, you can trigger notifications if you'd like. And also new in the description below is a place where you can donate money to Living Astrology to help support the work that I'm doing. And so thank you for all you do out there for me in support. And thank you all for being here with me this morning. J-Lo says, I'm weird. Weird. I'm a Taurus, but I'm a Gemini rising. So how does that work? Well, it's not that it works any different than any time else. It's just that Gemini energy might be being triggered by the moon at this moment in a positive, peppy sort of way. Like you said this morning, you're feeling peppy. But tomorrow with the full moon is happening in Taurus. And as a matter of fact, later today, the moon will transit into Taurus and we will end up being into Taurus energy before the full moon. So in fact, as a matter of fact, the void of course moon today begins at 12 after 9 in my time zone, the West Coast, and will be in the void until 2:19 p.m. So a good chunk of the day, the moon is wandering around in the last degrees of Aries. At 2:19 p.m., the void will break and the moon will move into the sign of Taurus, changing up the energy, again, opening that gateway to the full moon for us to be able to work through the energies of completion, revelation, perhaps, and endings, bringing things to some form of closure, letting go, etc. So again, from noon, if you're on the East Coast, until 5 p.m., the moon is going to be in the void. So if you're on the East Coast, get things done this morning. For those of us on the West Coast, you better make it early if you want to get something new done or make some strides, because then the moon is going to waffle a bit for a while, giving us an opportunity. Here's what I see as the opportunity when the moon turns void just before a full moon or a new moon, or even the quarter moons, is it gives us an opportunity to reflect on where we have been, what has happened during this period of time. For us with the full moon, I would say it's a time for us to get clear about where we are in the intention setting that occurred with the new moon, if you're someone who sets intentions with that new moon, because now's the opportunity for you to release the obstacles that have been in your way, or to go around them, or do something different. And the new moon itself, is in power from the new moon until the next new moon. So we're just reaching that halfway point in the cycle of the moon, kind of getting to check in with ourselves. So take some time today to reflect, to reimagine, what were those goals that you might have had that you need to change, and what isn't working so well that you can let go of during the full moon time. right? That's the other power that we have here is we can choose what we want to do, where we want to go, who we want to be with, how we want to react to the energies that are popping up in our world. Tom says, moving on up to the east side due to a deluxe apartment in the sky. I remember that show. Evolution, Kathleen says, yay. Pauline says, wow, missed big info, must listen right away, the recording. I did kind of plunge in this morning. Pauline, that's because it's Friday, it's a weekend. I've got 3 days to work through, plus the full moon, so I kind of just plunged. Corey Sykes, good morning. Tom Wright says, J-Lo, LOL. You guys are having a good laugh. I love that. Michael Watley, good morning. Adrian Jones, hello. Did anyone else notice the moon already looked full this morning? I actually saw the moon as it was setting. And I'm hoping you guys, will you please send good thoughts here, because I have not seen the sun since I got home from camping. So it's been 5 days now, no sun. And I can see out on the horizon where other towns around me might have sun, but sitting right here on the coast, I suppose I'm socked in, but I want to see the sun. This morning I woke up, I walked outside, and there was Orion right out my door. To the east or to the west was the setting full moon, fullish looking moon, and it was gorgeous. And I went, oh yes, maybe I will have a sunny day. And now I just looked outside and I see clouds coming back. I want sunshine for a day. Thank you very much, universe. Okay, so Kathleen, Tom, J-Lo, all you guys, great to see you all and see you all connecting with each other. Kamala says, what does it mean when the full moon happens in an intercepted house? Well, guess what, Kamala? You won't have an intercepted house if you use the whole sign system, which is what I've moved to, because it is too difficult to try to determine. First of all, an intercepted house can only happen in weird instances that are literally locale based, based on where you were born, higher latitudes, lower latitudes, and it's a weird one-off thing. So I don't use the house relationships anymore where that can happen. Because it just makes things difficult and messy and difficult for someone to understand. And whole sign, whole house makes much more sense to me. So you cannot have an intercepted sign if the entire house is taken up with one sign. So there you have that. Patricia Woods, hello. Saturday is supposed to be sunny, Janet. That will be nice. Corey, we haven't had sun either, remnants of the hurricane, but tomorrow it's supposed to be nice. Yay. Corey, you must be down in Louisiana or somewhere, Florida, southeast United States. Ingrid says snow in Boston. Now, you know what? I wouldn't be so upset if it was raining or if there was a purpose to the clouds like snow. But no, there's no purpose to the clouds. They're just hanging around, blotting out the sun. That part gets me. That's one thing about living in the Pacific Northwest. There are times where we get just socked in clouds and there's really nothing happening. It's kind of fog. And most times in my life living here, which has now been, almost 30 years, it hasn't really bothered me. But sometimes, like right now, I just feel like I really need to see that sunshine, that I just need to know that there's a sun behind those clouds. So there you have that. Ursula, good morning to you. Ingrid's, I already read that one. Christine Buckingham, Ingrid, she says it is snowing in New Jersey too. Well, enjoy the snow. Pauline says fog at night and dawn feels like what I hear in UK. Spooky, dreary, no sun, cloudy for weeks. Yep, sunny Halloween in New York. Well, that would be nice, right? And here's the thing about the weather. It is often driven by the astrology. Now, I'm not an expert in the meteorological prediction of weather through astrology, but I do know that as we start to move forward to more profound Aquarius energy, we're looking at warm and wet. And I don't know how that will play out in the weather of certain, areas of the country, but that, comes from the cold and the dry of Capricorn being focused. And Saturn is usually the planet we look to for weather. And so the weather pattern looking more warm and wet as we move forward in time. So there's that. We'll see, right? Oh my gosh, Tom, you make me laugh so hard sometimes. He says, astro forecast rain in my house of romance. Ay, ay, ay. I'm sorry. Okay, now let's go back to astrology, shall we? I wanted to point out that today's Pleiadian Earth energy is the beginning of a new spiral of consciousness, right? Yesterday we were in the 13, we were moving into the void, we were looking at what comes next. We're sort of reflecting on what's been and seeing where we are in our pathway forward evolutionarily. And now we have the one day, right? So the one is a new beginning. It's the start of a new round of consciousness. And the energy of the one day kind of peppers all of the next days that are occurring as sort of that, what did Pia calls it, highlighting or overlighting, something like that, the energies of the 13 days. So today's energy is very important. It's important then that we really understand it, as it will have application even on the 13th day of next, at the end of this round. So today's energy is one, devoting. Devoting energy in the Mayan calendar was Ak, which was the representation of the dog. And dog was all about cooperation, harmony, success, prosperity, and celebration. So we have this energy where we have the potential for waves of these kinds of energies, of that harmony, etc. It changes, it has the potential to change the world to a peaceful place through the spirit of cooperation, right? This feels sort of Libran to me, the energy of our 3 C's: cooperation, collaboration, co-creation. And as we move then through the day today, keep in mind what it is that you are trying to create and how can you cooperate in the co-creation of a new world or of a new paradigm. This is a time for sharing love and friendship, building community, for being together in as safe a way as we can for the moment, and in whatever way that you go about building on your community. By the way, I just found out that my sister's family are all down with COVID. My nephew in the hospital on having 4 liters of oxygen a day at this point in time because he ended up so congested in his lungs. My sister is 76 years old, so that doesn't bode well for her either. And it all happened because my nephew made fun of my sister who wanted to wear a mask. And so none of them were allowed to wear masks in the house. It's his house. And now they're all sick with COVID. There you go. Evolutionarily, then, our response, this is an evolutionary impulse. So it's a pulse of energy that comes flying through us, right? The pulse to cooperation and harmony and all of that good stuff, right? But evolutionarily, we've been kind of stuck in the past where our response has been all about loyalty and being loyal to an idea, loyal to a person. And that person or that idea is garnering loyalty because we agree with it, right? We agree with it. And we have to stop that kind of kind of blind loyalty in order to move forward, because now we're being taught how to be loyal to our hearts, loyal to our inner selves, right? To maybe our higher selves, you could put it, instead of being loyal to anything, any person, any idea that's outside of ourselves. I hope that makes sense, right? So if you think about the way the world works, it's always a call to loyalty. I've watched this in our government over the last couple of years, where if you weren't loyal, if you were a whistleblower where you pointed out where things were not happening in the right way, then you got revenge bestowed upon you. And so there's this idea that's been out there in the outer world about being all in, all loyal to a person or to an idea or an ideal. And of course, that breeds sort of this robotic kind of interaction with everything out there. So you have to go more to your heart. You have to follow what your heart says, is following your heart, being loyal to your heart, being loyal to yourself, 1st. So that is our one energy taking us into the next 13 days. We'll see how that plays out through all of the other energies as they pop up in every day. Let's take a look now at Saturday's full moon. By the way, that was all happening today that we were just talking about. Let's look at this full moon now. It occurs tomorrow morning at 7:49 a.m. if you're on the West Coast, 10:49 a.m. if you, yes, 10:49 a.m. if you're on the East Coast, and 2:49 p.m. if you are in the Universal Time Zone. This occurs at 8 degrees 35 minutes of Taurus-Scorpio, across the Taurus-Scorpio axis. So if you look to where that axis is in your astrology chart, you will see the houses that those two signs fall in are the houses where there's the possibility of a culmination or of a revelation or something changing in the dynamics of your life. I wanted to point out also that Uranus will be at 8 degrees 41 minutes of Taurus. So that shows you how close the moon will actually be sitting to Uranus, basically right on top of each other. And because at a full moon, the moon is conjunct the Earth, we have a triple conjunction then of moon, Earth, and Uranus during this period of time. So lest you think there isn't an impact on you as a citizen of planet Earth, think again, right? Our emotions are triggered, our dander is up, if you will, our practical application of these energies on the planet is up, and as well Uranus's energy of awakening, of shock perhaps, of also that letting us out of liberating us, right? Letting us out of the shackles that we've been bound to. Sometimes that can be disturbing. And at other times we're like, hallelujah, the chain is broken. I can move forward. So this is a time, right? The full moon is a time of culminating. It brings the promise of fulfillment from the things that you began with the new moon. So if you're someone who set intentions with that new moon, this is now the time, not the culmination exactly, but the promise of that culmination. You can see the handwriting on the wall. This is also where the sun in an opposition to the moon, or the sun in an opposition to the earth, the moon and Uranus, is causing us to strive for balance in our lives somewhere, right? The full moon is an opposition. In astrology, an opposition is a point where we have to find a balance, right? Where we tend to have energy to one side or the other, but it won't work that way. We have to try to balance these energies. And of course, that's a continuous effort. Things never come into a static balance. We always are working to keep that balance or that harmony. Now, Taurus is an earthy, practical, peaceful, sensual sign. And that's versus Scorpio, that is a more crisis-oriented, passion-filled, intense sort of sign. The Taurus part of the chart, or the Taurus part of this experience, wants the simple, tangible things in life, right? It wants to see and feel and taste and touch and know it's real. Versus Scorpio on the other side, that draws us more out of simplicity to complexity and wants to touch the intangibles. It wants to go into the secrets, the hidden, the mysteries, right? So we have to balance those two parts of ourselves. The full moon highlights certain things for us at this point. Personal comfort, right? Are we comfortable where we are? Our sexuality, our intimate relationships. The conjunction to Uranus adds unpredictability and a surprise element to the day. It brings up the possibility for revelation, that aha moment that wakes us up in some way, and that urges us to break with the old patterns, the old beliefs, the people that are the nooses around our necks, the things that we can no longer carry forward with us in order to live a full life of love, of cooperation, of peace, and of harmony. So if you look at your own chart, then you'll see where that balance is needing to be brought to bear in your life. As we look at Sunday, we are pulled into the new month. We're pulled in. Oh, wait, before I go there, I wanted to read something to you. So when we look at this book, right, Dane Rudhyar's Astrological Mandala, he gives us the words behind the meaning of the degree that both the sun and the moon are going to be at. The moon is at a degree that brings up, in according to Rujar, faith in cyclic renewal, that this too shall pass, right? That all things give way to the new, and then the new comes into fullness and passes out of existence as well, giving way to the next new cycle or the next new thing of renewal. So while we've been looking at 2020, a year of death, destruction, and upheaval and craziness, this too shall pass. And this moon kind of tells us that maybe, we're seeing the last hurrah of some of these more chaotic energies, leading us to what in 2021 is chaotic as well, but also has this renewal sort of theme to it. So interesting, I think, to watch the death and destruction of 2020, 2019, 2020 lead into the potential of the new expressions of these things, the birthing of something. And if you've ever been in the room, if you're a woman and you've given birth, you know that that is not a pretty thing, right? It's painful, it's hard work, and you at the end are exhausted, but you have this infant, right? This new baby, this new life. And that's kind of what 2019 and 2020 have been about, is the contractions, right? The breaking down of the walls of things so that we can have that birth. And of course, birth in and of itself isn't easy. So the first months of 2021, I'm sure, are also going to be difficult as we run right into a square between Saturn and Jupiter and Uranus, the conjunction of Saturn and Jupiter in a square to Uranus and Taurus. And that's going to also be our breaking with the old and setting sail for the new. What's that going to look like? Well, I wish I knew exactly. I'm hopeful that it means a return to our living in harmony and of a community and of caring for one another. We shall see what happens. But just know that there's always that difficulty in the beginning. And that's what this moon is telling us, that have faith in that cyclic renewal, that all things pass into the old and something new is born in its place. Now, the sun is at a different place. Obviously, he's in Scorpio at this point in time. So I thought I would read you a little bit about what is going on here. The Scorpio is the phrase, which is always so funny to hear the phrases, says a dentist at work. And the keynote, overcoming the negative results of social practices and ego cravings. So sit with that for a minute. In order to properly evaluate and interpret this symbol, we should realize the meaning of the teeth. Permanent teeth appear normally at age 7, when, according to some occultists, the personalized individuality of the child, the ego, takes full control of the physical organism. The teeth are used to tear down foodstuffs so they can be digested and assimilated. Social living and cultural patterns impose upon us certain habits of eating, arouse desires for unwholesomeness or denatured food, force us perhaps to eat in tense circumstances and hurriedly. This results in tooth decay far more frequently than should be inevitable through aging. The symbol therefore shows us how society and civilization, which may indirectly cause tooth decay, then have to invent means to skillfully repair the damage. So at this fourth stage of this sequence, we see once more a hint of technique. Life in society both perverts and repairs, destroys and rebuilds, truly a vicious cycle. Man is compelled by social needs to display inventiveness, right? That's the key word, inventiveness. How do we recover and rebuild from the destruction of 2020? I think this full moon holds the codes for that level of renewal for us. It's right there in the degrees that the sun and the moon, the earth and Uranus are all sitting at for us to take note of, right? Take note. So this may indeed be the bridge to that new energy that we begin to pulse with in November, December, and on into 2021. So I have high hopes that even though it looks like things aren't changing, that they really are changing in the world. Okay, let's take a quick look at Sunday then and talk a little bit about the energies of November. I'm going to take this out of here so I don't have to keep looking over there. There we go. So November 1st, Sunday, the sun will, God, I can't talk now. Communication all messed up here. The moon on Sunday will still be in Taurus. So all day, we don't have a void of course moon to deal with. We don't have that till, well, do we have the void of course moon? We do, but not until later in the evening on Sunday. So all day Sunday, the moon basically is in the sign of Taurus, but we also have a Mercury square Saturn on Sunday, and that's going to repeat again in about 5 days later, where we have another, because Mercury this first week in November is changing direction, moving back to direct. And so what we're going to see, at least for right now, is Mercury in Libra squaring Saturn in Capricorn, and then moving forward, going to those last degrees again and hitting that square once more. So we have that on the 1st and we have that on the 6th. Now, Mercury square Saturn has high sides and a little bit lower sides. This can be good news, or this can be bad news, right? This can be about hearing difficult news. Mercury's in retrograde, so it can be a replay of something that's already happened. It can be our having to deal with that more negative edge to the news, or that more negative edge to the things that people are communicating. Our minds may even be kind of slanted over to the more negative side of things. This is just a temporary condition, right? So things may look doom and gloom, but is it really? Probably not necessarily, right? It doesn't have to be that way. The Mercury square Saturn can give us great ability to focus and concentrate. But what are you focusing on? That might be the question. So where are you taking your energies and focusing them? Think about that as a very important part of what's happening as you move into next week. Next week, we'll have Mercury turning direct, and we have these challenging Mercury square Saturn sort of bracketing for us in the US, the election. So I don't know if that plays good or not. I think it kind of plays to up and down, in the news cycle. So we shall see what happens. I think everybody's tension is building as we move that direction. So that tension should break. And then we find out we don't really know the outcome of the election. And then we have another hit on Friday the 6th with Mercury squaring Saturn. It won't be until the following week of November where Mercury moves back from its stay in Libra into Scorpio again and starts to dig up the secrets, the end behind the scenes things that are going on, the underbelly of things. Finally, on the 13th of November, Mars turns direct. So now we'll have Mercury and Mars both moving forward. So if people are looking for election results, we likely aren't going to see anything definitive emerge until after the 13th of November. And then we have the new moon right after that, the day after that. So the energy is moving in a kind of up and down motion for the first couple of weeks, and then finally moving forward in whatever direction that may be, right? None of us really know for sure. We also have the new Human Design Week starting tomorrow, Halloween, and that is the last time the sun will sit at a gate of fear until next September and October. The sun is moving into the gate 44, which is the gate of capital T truth, right? Capital T truth, the real truth. And the real truth is ours to explore and ours to define. But there are some capital T truths that are definitive, right? That are unchanging. So we get to explore that during this coming week. The Earth at the same time will be in the gate 24. The gate 24 sits on the ajna, moving up toward the head center. The gate 24 Earth is going to connect to Pluto, moving downward through the gate 61. So we have the entire channel there of sort of the addiction to rationalization that we have, the psychosis in our thinking patterns. And with the sun at truth, in order to get to truth, we're going to have to break the old patterns in our minds. So Human Design Week is showing us where we are out of our minds, where we're crazy, where we're psychotic, and where it is that in order to go to truth, we're going to have to break from the constraints of our limited mind and our thinking patterns and our beliefs, etc. So again, another sort of push for us to get back in our hearts, right? The hearts tell the truth. The mind, when we look at it in human design, I think we see the most interesting aspects of the mind in that it really has no energy. The mind has no energy. In human design, the mind is an awareness center. So all it can do is be aware of facts and figures, of comparing and contrasting, of data, of memory. So the mind itself is a computer. Basically, your computer, you go to Google and you ask it to tell you when something's going to happen, then you get an output, right? That's what the mind is. Does that necessarily mean it's the truth? No, because it's only awareness of the details of something, of the facts and the figures. What decision making you have has to come from a motor, or it has to come from a part of you that has more energy than the mind, which is why there is no authority for decision making in human design or gene keys in the mind. It all comes from below the throat center, below the neck. So think of it this way then. Your mind is aware of all the different pieces of news, of all the different things that people are saying and doing, of what's happening, what's not happening, but you cannot make any clear decisions for yourself from that place. From that place. If you're making decisions from your head, you are in the wrong place. Right? You have to make it from lower in the body, whether that's your spleen, where it's intuition, your emotions, where it's clarity over time, whether it's from your identity center, just your self-authority, whether it's the ego center, my will would be done, whether it's the sacral, right? Response in the moment to something. Those are all places for correct authority, not the mind. So next week, we really get to focus, starting tomorrow, actually, we really get to see where our minds are out of whack, where we're crazed, where we're overly rational. So that gives you sort of some insight into the weekend and the first couple of weeks of November. I'm going to look back here. Asa, I haven't seen anything pop up with questions. Is that you? No, that's not you. Perfect. So what's going on out there? Any questions about anything? Scrolling down here to the bottom. Moon and North Node, Scorpio rising, and South Node Taurus, Christine says. So you've got a lot going on in that part of your chart. Your focus on your destiny may be changing, right? The ideas of how you show up in the world may be changing here. Your daughter turned 17. Happy birthday to her. And she got very sick out of nowhere. Oh, poor thing. Sunday time change. Thank you for that reminder, Pauline. If you're here in the US, we change clocks back an hour on Sunday. At least maybe it will be a little bit lighter in the morning for a while. That will be good. Kathleen Mallory, blessings to us all. And thank you for this gathering place. You're welcome. And okay, now I'm going to do a couple of card pulls for the weekend and for the month ahead. So how's that? Let's look at that. I'm actually going to pull us one from the Halloween deck that we did yesterday. This will be a card for the collective. Ay, ay, ay. And let's see what we get. I'm going to use this deck all year round. I don't care that it's Halloween tomorrow and then it's over. I'm going to keep using it because I like it. It has, oh, good one. Good one. So here's the card for the collective for the weekend. Blind spots, the skull of darkness, right? The skull of darkness with the light on top of his head. So blind spots. Let's see what that says. I think that might go right along with what I was talking about with the next week's energy of, thinking outside, getting out of our heads. Skull of Darkness. Remember, it starts with a little poem. And the poem says, "We may not wish to delve there, the shadows, the darkness, the unknown. Yet when we search, we reveal, and our power, it has grown." The beautiful and mysterious skull of darkness encourages us to look at the part of ourselves that normally remains hidden or as unseen as possible. We may not appreciate or like certain aspects of ourselves, and yet sometimes our greatest treasures lie within these areas. How many times have you heard of famous artists or people extremely successful in their fields being bullied for being so different? Yet it is their very differences from others that make them so powerful. Additionally, all of us at some stage of life have certain blind spots that may cause us grief and trouble. Although we cannot see the issue clearly, it is the repeated patterns of pain that may alert us to them, symptoms, if you will. For example, the same things keep happening over and over again. We may be betrayed repeatedly, fail at something repeatedly, not complete tasks continually. Peace and pattern breaking can be achieved by doing the work in uncovering our blind spot, or even consulting trusted close friends or professionals to assist us to see what we cannot. That's a good one. That's a good one. And I'm going to draw us an animal card. I'm going to draw us a dog card. How's that? Let's see what the dogs have to say. Great Dane, leadership. Great Dane. You've never lived until you've had a Great Dane crawl up on your lap because she thinks she's a lap dog. My granddaughter's dog is a Great Dane, and she did that to me one day. She used to sit on my lap all the time when she was a puppy, but she also crawled up on my lap and sat on my lap as a Great Dane, full grown. She's just so cute, though. All right, Great Dane says leadership. Be open to the vibrant and powerful energy of the Great Dane. You have learned from your mistakes and taken stock of your limitations, which has produced an ability to make wise decisions. This knowledge affords you the opportunity to influence others' lives in a positive direction. You are now able to draw on this energy without arrogance, which has made you a decisive leader. You are a good negotiator, and people depend on you for your wisdom and sound advice. You are grounded and stable and have a larger than life attitude, which makes others feel like anything is possible. Leadership is living what you believe despite the consequences. Great Dane's advice: the whole point of being alive is to evolve into the complete person you were intended to be. And that's a quote by Oprah. Great Dane, great wisdom. Love it, love it, love it. Okay. I think that is it for me this morning, unless, Asa, there are questions out there from people. I don't see any. I do have maybe 5 minutes if someone needs their chart looked at or has a question about where the full moon is for them. Tom says, I want to drive a smart car with a sunroof and a Great Dane. That would be funny. That would be funny. They're such loving dogs too. I mean, that's the thing. They're so huge, but they're so loving, and they really just want to cuddle with you. And the problem is they take up most of the space that you're trying to sit in. So I can imagine a Great Dane in a smart car would look pretty humorous. Yeah. Corey says, I always wanted a Great Dane. They're beautiful dogs. They are. They're just beautiful. But I've had many times I've taken that dog on a walk and my shoulders ached afterwards because she's so powerful. And, you know, even pulling lightly forward, she's like, dragging me. A Kolu 21. Hello there to you. A Scorpio 29 degrees. Taurus moon at 6 degrees. So your Taurus moon is going to be hit. So what's going on in your life, right? Things are changing. Mimi says, would love a look at my chart. Well, let's do that. Let's do that, Mimi. Quickly. Oh, I lost myself here. There we go. Just one moment while I pull up your chart. Whoa, what's going on there? Finally. Mimi. Just 1 minute. There you are. And we'll look at a transit chart, pulling it up now. And then I'll share my screen with all of you so you can see it. And sharing now. All right, so you guys should be seeing Mimi's chart here. I'm going to make it just a little bit bigger. That way we can all see it. So here is Taurus in Mimi's chart. She has an Aries rising, so her chart moves with the natural order of the wheel. So meaning that her rising is in Aries, and that puts Aries 0 degrees on her first house. So you can see whoever asked that question before, no intercepted houses, because every house has one sign that goes with it. So the second house for Mimi is Taurus, and here's Uranus. And you can see an open second house, nothing going on here. If we look across at Scorpio, what we see at about the 8th degree where the sun is almost, there's also nothing going on. So the axis itself, the opposition energy, is not activated during this period of time for you, for that full moon. But we can look at other places in the chart to look at activation. So for example, your Chiron is at 8 degrees 37 minutes of Aquarius, which puts it in a square to the sun and a square to the moon and to Uranus. So there is a high probability of a lot of healing energy taking place here as you choose to look at things differently, sort of like turning them upside down and seeing them from a different point of view. And if it's not your own healing, based on the fact you've already had your Chiron return in your lifetime, I would guarantee it's probably not your own wound, but you may see your own wound reflected to you in people that are around you or situations that arise around you. So this is for you to be able to see how free you've really become, right? How awesome things in your life really are, and to be grateful and full of gratitude for that freedom, the freedom to be able to move with the direction that is of your own choosing. So the need to be objective has been very powerful probably in your life, and that has served you well. But at other times that could move into the energy of being aloof. So you may want to watch out for being aloof. Objective, yes, but aloof, not so good, because other people might think that you're unapproachable. If I'm looking at Uranus in your chart, he's in your money house, so finances hopefully are still stable, that you're not worried about money. There's no reason to be. Let's look at the ruler of Taurus, which is Venus, and she's transiting right now through the sign of Virgo. She's now in Libra. She's right here at 2 degrees of Libra and in your 7th house. So are you possibly partnering with someone at this point in time, or looking at that? And that can be a business partnership. It could be a personal partnership. The one big thing I think that you might be contending with, and this has nothing to do with the moon, has nothing to do with anything except that Aries is your first house, and it's a full house at the moment with Chiron transiting through there, Mars in retrograde there, the moon there, Eris there. And it's a possibility then that you are re-emerging in some way. A new you is developing, that you're really taking a look at who you are, what you do, who you want to be, how you want to express yourself in matters of love, in matters of just personality, of what you look like, all these kinds of things. And maybe you're shaking things up a bit in your personal life. Be careful right now because Mercury retrograde is on top of your natal Neptune. That makes things difficult for you to see clearly. So if you are looking at partnershiping with somebody or signing a contract of any kind, double check it, because if you don't, you might see that you may be signing up for something that you didn't expect. Better yet, maybe wait until after next week, and then there can be some more clarity, because on top of Neptune, it means that things are foggy, things aren't clear. So it might even be a call for you at this point, if you're looking at trying to make any big decisions, maybe hold that off for a little while, or just make sure that you have uber clarity before you go that route. And just for fun, I want to look at where 0 degrees of Aquarius is in your chart, because I do not think it's too early for us to start looking ahead to December 21st and that monumental conjunction that Saturn and Jupiter come into at 0 degrees of Aquarius. I was watching an astrological conference, and one of the astrologers said, this is you making a 200-year plan, right? And I'm like, a 200-year plan? I don't live 200 years. Why would I do that? But I think in the process of this, we're setting a tone, not, we're saying to the universe, long term, this is what I want. And for you, Mimi, it's at 0 degrees Aquarius in your 11th house. So how do you want to show up from here on out in community? How do you want to build your dreams, right? What's your vision? How do you manifest the vision, right? What's up here? How does it get out and down into reality? This is a place filled with hopes and dreams and aspirations and visionary energy. And at 0 degrees, you can see Saturn is so close already. So 0 degrees gives us the opportunity to set the tone for where we want to be. And for you, that's going to be in the groups that you're aligned with, the people, your friendships, your networks, and the dreams that you want to build upon. So your creative energy made manifest. So hopefully that's helpful. I didn't see any particular question you had, but there you have that. What time is it? I've got about 4 minutes here. Who else had a question about that? Yeah, I won't be able to look at that chart because I don't have, unless I have you somewhere already, because, that's not your name. I mean, that's just your... Yeah, Asa, maybe get her birth information for me and give it to me after the show. I don't know. Or better yet for you, Akolu21, is to go to my website at www.living-astrology.com and request your free chart. And you can get your free human design chart or your free astrology chart, or both, right? You can request both. All right. Feeling changes coming and understand the wisdom of waiting, thinking, and weighing possibilities. That's exactly what I think is important for you, Mimi, because anytime Neptune and a planet come together, there's a certain degree of disclarity, right? You just can't see clearly. Or your mind, in this case, because it's Mercury, is going back and forth, kind of, well, maybe this, well, maybe that. So just wait until you have that clarity. Kathleen Mallory, 0 degrees Aquarius in the 3rd house. So the new potential for you is about learning and teaching and the mind and beliefs and how you communicate. Are you going to write? Are you going to dance? Are you going to be a poet? Are you going to do some artwork? But it's really about the mind and learning. So learning becomes the focus for you for the next probably rest of your life, right? Because it's just the beginning of a 20-year cycle here. And it doesn't stop there. It continues coming together in air signs over the next 200 years, which is why the 200 plan. All right, guys, that is it for me this morning. I hope you all have a fabulous weekend. Take care. Remember to be patient, to watch your mind and what it's focused on, and be open to the whatever is revealed for you in this full moon period of time. That's it for me. Take care, everybody. See you Monday.